Good morning and welcome to Proby Communications webinar on Algo IP, PA and SIP alerting range. Today I've been joined by Tony Robbery from Algo Solutions who will provide us some useful input on the webinar and their product range as well. So today, quickly crack on. Before we go, just to give you some basic idea about how the GoToMeeting software. On the right hand side panel you can see chat options, you can see different audience view and all sorts of different options. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to write your message in the chat box and either myself or Tony will be able to answer the questions. If we can't answer questions during the webinar, we will email you with your answers as well, or you can contact us with our contact details as well. So today's agenda, as you probably have seen in the emails, it is fairly mainly to introduce two new product ranges from Algo. But before we move on to the new products, we'll just give you a brief introduction to the old range we have been selling for some time now, and then we'll go through some advantages of using Algo products over ATA-based PA systems, which is basically just Cisco converters or any other converters, and then we will briefly discuss multicast paging and go through some user scenarios, and eventually we'll have a summary and question answer sessions where you can ask any questions you may have about the product range. So I'll now pass it on to Tony so he can give you a brief introduction about Algo and where they come from. So over to you, Tony.
Oh, good morning, Mo. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this short webinar where we're going to go through, as Mo says, briefly the Algo product line for SIP paging and alerting. Algo, if you'd like to look at the slide, Algo were founded in 1968. Through our period of time, we've become a major supplier to many large telecom companies. If you have a look at our website, we're in the Avaya developer program, we're with Cisco, we're with Broadband, Polycomb. Wherever there is a requirement for our products, we will talk and take part of the manufacturer's developer program. Since we started making products, we've shipped more than 4 million devices, some branded Nortel, some branded Avaya. Both these companies use us to manufacture for them, and we will make specific products unique to their organization and also adapt our products to make them flexible and more specific to their brand. These days we are very much focused on SIP alerting and paging products and solutions to help customers who are installing IP PBXs or IP servers to have a more channeled approach to paging and alerting. So Mohammed and I will be touching on that throughout the presentation to go through some of the specifications and the unique features we have in the product line, one being the high reliability, the other being very easy to set up, and the advantages of IP and SIP. All of our products use G722 wideband, so the speakers and the paging is very high quality, and they are all designed and approved for connection throughout Europe and North America. They are, as the slide says, they're high performance alerting devices, and the vertical targets are listed, a couple of them listed there: education, healthcare, warehousing. We have a lot going into schools and academies these days because of the uniqueness of the product, especially into also the health field, which is a very large market, and as the slide finishes, CE marked and available in Europe. Where we sell, specifically, wherever someone wants to put in IP paging simply and easily with a self-contained product which can be provisioned before setup, we have a web interface, but focusing on any organization that needs clear paging, simple paging, IP paging from a quality one-box product in education, healthcare, retail, also adding, of course, energy, utility, transportation, using many of the products we have as intercoms in very large projects. So what you will find is that much of our product, when installed, is usually the start of a large project for the customer. So when the customer comes to you and says, I'm doing something in energy and utility, then take a little bit of time with that customer and say, you know, is this a one-off? I know you guys will, but many of the large projects we've taken on worldwide, especially with BroadSoft, which is on this slide, expand out to very, very large projects. So they start off small, but they do go very large once the customer is happy with the solution. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. So now we'll just quickly run through the product ranges from Algo range and obviously some of the new products we are introducing today, and we will go through some more information later on the webinar as well. So the all range. So as you can see, we have Algo H180, which has been the most successful range from Algo. It is a multi-purpose audio alerting device and loud ringer device. And then we have H186 horn speaker, which is an analog speaker and which is more like an extension to the Algo H180. Then we have a strobe light, a ceiling speaker, and the new range we have the H301 paging adapter, which is like a music streaming adapter or a paging or ringer adapter as well. And then also we have a SIP horn speaker. So a quick run through. Again, most of the guys who have bought these items or who have been dealing with us in the past, they will probably know these products. The Algo H180 SIP alerter, it is a PoE enabled SIP speaker. It is a multi-purpose product, so it can have two different dual SIP extensions on it, and you can use one extension for loud ringer and the other one as for a voice paging. So it does serve two different purposes, and people can use it in all different scenarios. It has a built-in, quite loud loudspeaker speaker inside it, which can provide maximum of 106 dBA audio output. So it is quite loud. It is twice or maybe at least twice the audio quality of a standard SIP phone, maybe more than that actually. And we use them in-house in our office as well, in warehouse to make announcements. So it is fairly quite loud in that terms. The H180 does support multicast, send and receive. So you can create zones, and we'll again discuss multicast in more detail later on. And you can generate multicast as well for any other listener to speak to. It can support, it's got a microphone built in, as most of the products from Algo. So you can, for paging, it's not a one-way page. You can have a two-way paging as well. And this feature can be enabled or disabled depending on your requirement. Again, when it comes to multicast, you can zone paging. You can have more, if it's connected to a PBX, you can connect more SIP extensions for ringing and voice, which is a sort of a fairly new feature in the Algos. So you can add more extensions if you want to create zones from the PBX side, but again, multicast paging does that for you anyways without relying on the PBX. It's got an ambient noise measurement built in, which is quite unique for any IP paging system. And basically what it is the speakers or the microphones adjusts the audio, or actually to be exact, speakers adjust the audio coming out of it according to the noise level, and it's quite good actually. We have tested in house and it works really well. There is a built-in audio memory, so you can put your own audio files to play with it as well. There is a relay input, relay output. So basically what it means is if you want to connect like any sort of a button to activate certain certain kind of ringing, maybe an emergency ringing, or maybe connected to a fire alarm, so it plays a loud fire alarm noise, for example, it has a relay input which can be connected to a centralized sort of button or some sort of, you know, event management system. Everything is controlled. It is PoE, so everything is controlled from a web interface. It's very simple to use, very basic information in there, and obviously it can be provisioned as most of other devices as well. Then finally, there are outputs for external speakers, slave amplifiers, and visual alerters as well. Again, these are all audio devices. Algo 1186 paging home speaker. It is an analog speaker, so it's not doing anything fancy. All it's doing is if Algo H188 is mainly designed for indoor use. So if you want to extend it or you want to install the speaker outdoors, then you will probably install H180 indoors, and then you will run an extend cable, 2-wire cable to outdoor station, and then install an 1186 paging home. So it is just a cable, 2-wire cable going to Algo H180, and it becomes effectively you know, a PoE based external SIP speaker. Now we do have another one as well. We'll discuss that in a minute. Some of the main features is ruggedized, it's weatherproof, so it's good to go for outdoor use, or it can be used for indoor use as well. If you do use this analog speaker, it does add an extra voice output as well. So obviously with H180, it's 106 dBA, whereas when you use it with H180, it changes to 112 dBA. It doesn't need any power supply because it gets power or draws power from Algo H180. Again, it is wall mountable and adjustable as well, and it's got 8-ohm speakers, which is sort of rated at 50 volts. So this is pretty much, these two products sort of works together in that terms, again depending on how and where you want to install it. The next in line is Algo H188 ceiling speakers. These are the new, recently introduced again. Previously, Algo only had one H180 speaker, but they've introduced 2 ranges, which is one of them is H188 ceiling speaker. It is, you know, again, effectively the same thing, but it is ceiling mount. But the only thing difference is it is made of heavy-duty UL 2046 sort of compliant housing. I'm not sure what that is, but it makes it pretty much. It protects the speakers and circuitry pretty much against, you know, condensation and dust, because eventually you will be installing it or flushing it inside the ceiling. So it is specially designed for ceiling installation. It is based on a newly designed hardware and Linux operating system. It does have a bit more higher memory, so it's got internal 1 gig memory. So basically, effectively, what you can store audio files, bit more audio files, and you can play different audio files as per your paging requirements, or if, you know, maybe extend if you're using it for a loud ringer, you can ring different devices as well. Everything else pretty much same. It is based on web interface, and you can provision it as well. There is a relay output, so if you can connect different you know, buttons, alarm systems to it as well, and you can activate certain sort of ringing noises with it. Finally, it is PoE. So these are 2 effectively the same thing, and then the last of the old style range is the 8128 strip strobe alerter. Now it is again a PoE enabled device. It is a SIP device, so it can again be connected to a hosted system or a SIP based PBX, and all it does is there's no speaker built in, so all it does is sort of gives you a light or visual alerting when something happens. So it is quite useful in certain scenarios where hospitals, you know, hospitals or secure banks or prisons. So it could be used in 100 different scenarios depending on where you want to use it. And then it comes with also different patterns. So when we ship them, you have a choice of clear, amber, red, and blue cover. So by default, it has a transparent cover. It has 16 selectable flash patterns, rate and intensity, so you can choose which one you want to play with. Again, it depends. It also supports SIP, multicast, and it can be triggered using contact drive relay as well. So there are a lot of stuff you can do with the light, and obviously being based on LED, it is a long lasting product rather than if you compare it with xenon strobe lights, which is old style lights. The good thing is it is to enable, so all you have to do is plug into a network and you are good to go. Pretty much straightforward. So now coming back to the new range, so which is the main introduction to this webinar. Also come up with Algo H186, which is effectively same as Algo H180, but it is mainly designed for outdoor use. So you don't have to buy an Algo H180 and an external speaker. All you have to do is buy one of these all-in-one device, and effectively, you have an outdoor station. Again, depending on how it's as long as you've installed it correctly, obviously. It has, it does support multicast receive and broadcast capabilities. It is IP66 rated, so it is suitable for indoors and outdoors environment as well. And as you can see on the picture, it does have some knobs to rotate the angle. So there's a 3-axis rotation, so you can change, the angle of the speaker to focus on certain area or for the paging. This range supports G72 wideband audio. So when you basically make an announcement, it is a crystal. The G722 is a high definition audio codec. So the voice quality is highly improved when you use G722. If you're using most of the new PBXs, they do use G722 for audio communications. But if, for example, you are installing, let's say, tens or hundreds of these, or maybe 50s of these, for example, you can just use the multicast streaming. And what you're effectively doing is you're not relying on the PBX, you're just relying on the multicast server, which is effectively one of these devices to page or to make a page. It does support zone paging as well, and again, as with any other Algo product, it does support ambient noise management. So it adjusts the audio output as per noise levels. It's got a really loud 110 dB output in terms of audio as well. Again, effectively, it's got everything that an Algo H180 has or any other Algo product has. So it can do everything, and it does have a 1 gig internal memory, so you can basically upload your own WAV files, music files to play on certain scenarios. So the second product we're launching today is Algo H301. It is quite an exciting product because mainly it can be connected to an amplifier. It can take an input from an analog music input, maybe from an MP3 player or from a CD player, and then you can basically use it as a streaming box, music streaming box across the board as well. It is sort of an ATA in some certain aspects, but it is much more powerful because with an ATA, and we'll discuss that later, you can't actually control the music or the PA system. All you're doing is just making an announcement, and then ATA will obviously convert it into SIP. And then plays out. But with this thing, you actually controls the audio that goes to the amplifier as well. So you basically, including Algo H301, it basically effectively becomes your main control system for the amplifier, and you can control which audio stream to play where. And at the same time, if you don't want to use it, then you can just pretty much use it for an analog to SIP converter. It does have, again, auxiliary output, 3.5mm jack for headsets or PCs. It can also connect, again, you can see on the picture, it's got a line in and line out, so you can connect it to any amplifier, and then obviously you can use it for streaming. All of the features are pretty much same, so it supports G729 wideband audio, zone paging, multicast paging. Again, the most important feature in any Algo product is a programmable delay. So basically, because everything is happening over IP, there could be an added delay, latency, due to, you know, 100 different aspects. So what you can do on any Algos, you can delay, or you can synchronize the delay across the board, so audio comes out from all the speakers at the same time. And finally, obviously, again, it's got an 1 gig internal memory for upload any files and format. So I'll pass you on to Tony. Tony, do you want to discuss a bit about the advantages of using Algo over 88 systems, please?
Yes, I can do that. Basically, what we say is, if you are going to install an IP system into a customer that has already got legacy paging, the workaround is to putting an ATA. These are usually Cisco, and this allows the customer who has raised a question with you when you're putting an installation in, is what's going to happen to my old legacy system. The answer can be, we will make it still work. The customer might say to you, hold on, don't touch it, don't go near the door, because if you do, it will stop working. So there is always a nervousness about something that's been established and working fine off and on for many, many years, and they are quite expensive to replace. So you have to give the customer the confidence that what you're installing will work. So the fast way of doing this is to say, we will put an ATA in here and there'll be an analog telephone and you'll be able to still make pages. If the customer says to you though, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to have 2 telephones here, one to make pages down there and another to make pages through my new all singing, all dancing IP system, I'm afraid the answer when using an ATA is, yeah, sorry about that, but that's how it is. With our solution of the 8301, this removes the need for the ATA. The 8301, which is relating to our replacement for the old ATA, is the SIP endpoint. So as it's a SIP endpoint, your new system you're installing and the new IP products will become part of the network, which means that you can go up to any telephone and make a page through the legacy system as easily as you can through your newly installed SIP speakers, whether they be our 8180, the 8186, the H188 ceiling speaker. All of those products are basically very, very similar, but they're just in a different form factor. So if you can imagine the 8186 for this quick example, the 8186 is our 8180 with an 1186 in an 1186 cover, but with the IP advantages. So for the ATA, you would install the 8301 as a SIP endpoint in replace of the ATA. The advantage you will then get is high quality sound, but also usability. For general, as we've put in this small slide, is the ATA communicatively available over the network PoE? The answer is no. You can talk to it as though you were imagining you were talking to the network PoE, but you can't dial into it really and say quick page where you can with an IP system. So we say yes, we are network PoE, ATA is not. Is it a web interface configuration? Yes, ATAs can be set up with a web interface. Loud ringtones, we have so many ringtones because you can download into through our system a wide selection of alerting tones, whereas with an analog system, and you may be just replacing an analog alerter with an ATA, you're just limited to a shrill warbling. Can you do multicast? You can with our system. You can't with an ATA. Paging, well, sort of, but not very well. It's a legacy analog system, so if you guys know anything about that, you know how to do it. G722 wideband, yes, high quality, no for an ATA. Talkback, yes, we can do that. That talkback feature is explained very easily in our data sheets. No, you can't do that with an ATA. We have relays for controlling other products. You can't do that with an ATA. So that's why we believe this product is very, very unique, very clever, and has one use to replace the ATA, but bring all of the products in the IP system, paging, alerting, together.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay.
Cheers.
Okay.
So moving forward, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to multicast paging. Obviously, all these devices support multicast paging, and most people do not really have an experience of using it, although this feature has been enabled in PBXs and in IP products for quite some time. And Algo has obviously, Algo solutions sort of mainly can rely on multicast paging, and there are benefits and obviously there are drawbacks as well, but we'll discuss that again along the line. But idea of multicast paging basically achieves the same result as any standard IP paging system, but without compromising any resources. The idea being is each endpoint is set up with a multicast address, and in IP DHCP server address, there are certain addresses which are sort of put on one side mainly for multicast, and they can use it for 100 different things, you know. But again, you can use one of those multicast addresses and make all other multicast SIP clients or compatible clients listen to that address, and then obviously whenever somebody wants to make a page, all they do is page it to that multicast IP address, which is the gray line you can see. In our case, it's 224.0.2.6, and all the listening devices can just grab the audio and plays out from the speaker. Now, think of it as, you can think of it as a radio station as well, right? So just to simplify the whole system. So in a radio station stream audio to a certain AM or FM frequency, and all the receivers like the radio stations, you know, in-car radios or DABs or whatever you can call it, you tune the radio to listen to the frequency, and obviously your radio system just starts to play audio or music out of the system. So it's similar concept, but obviously this is more like an internal network solution. But it works really well because you're not relying on resources for that. So why would you use multicast paging? So again, the main reason is it requires very less hardware resources. It doesn't rely, you know, it doesn't because if you use a PBX for paging, the way it works on a PBX is you make a call to the PBX, and PBX then calls 100, you know, 5, 10, 100 different systems, 100 different IP endpoints. So effectively what it's doing is you're making 10, 15, 20 calls, concurrent calls from the PBX, which is obviously consuming your hardware resources. But with multicast, you're only making one SIP call, and effectively all of the people can listen in to the same over the network onto the same page. So it is very less hardware consuming. Everything is managed on again with regards to Algo. Everything is managed from a web browser, so everything has an IP address. So all you do is log in, configure, and set up the system. Pretty much straightforward installation. It also, when it comes to multicast paging, it also reduces the cost in terms of SIP licenses or SIP seats. So for example, if you are installing it in a hosted solution, they may have one of the amplifiers which they want you guys to convert into SIP. But obviously they don't see a point of adding a SIP licenses, or maybe they have 10 amplifiers. So the idea being is you just basically install one, you make one Algo as a master of the multicast master, and all of the Algos in the product range are multicast slaves. So you're only making one SIP call to the master, and master then basically distributes the audio stream onto the other slaves. So it reduces SIP licenses. And if you think of Mitel, Avaya, PBX, and also the Cisco uses CCM, then you can see it can be quite economical to use algos, because again, you don't have to buy 100 different third-party SIP licenses. You will only need really one. And it works with more SIP compatible phones. Now, although obviously if you're using the PBX side of the stream of the paging, which is just a standard SIP call, then obviously it will work. But for the multicast to work, you have to make sure the phone or SIP phone you're using supports multicast streaming. We have tested it on Snom, Yellings, Polycomb, Panasonic, all the basic ones. We will be testing, we're not testing on VTECs yet, but we will be testing these on VTEC phones shortly as well, which is something, a new phone range we have introduced recently. And again, using multicast paging, basically you're not really relying on the PBX or a hosted solution to work on external. If the band goes down, your paging system is still up and running. So it's not really relying on any of the external sources. And if another possible solution is there's no on-site PCs to install, it pretty much relies on each eventual endpoint is effectively can act as a master. So if one of the main system, which is acting as a master system, fails, then you can just easily web browse to the other slave system and converts into a master. So it is pretty much 5-10 minutes job to set it up and then get going again. So that's some of the main reasons why you would use multicast paging for it. And again, this multicast paging is not purely for paging. It can also be used for, again, multicast paging can also be used for music streaming. So if you're using this Algo H301, and you connect it to an MP3 player using the auxiliary input, you can stream music from H301 to any algos. And again, think of a supermarket. When you go to supermarket, they've got these marketing campaigns, and if somebody wants to barge into the call, they just press a button on one of their phones, and you can say, please come to till 1, please, and vice versa. So it's a similar concept, but much more easier to set up and much more easy to manage. So in terms of scenarios, I'll just give you, based on multicast, just give you 2 different scenarios so you understand how it works anyways, and hopefully in simple terms. So this whole diagram is basically using a paging, a Polycomb Group paging concept. It could be group paging concept, or it could be just a single concept. So if you, let's say for example, if you have a couple of these VBX phones around the different network around the system, what you're doing is basically you have one of these Algo H188s maybe connected to an 1186 home speaker, and what you do is you pick up a handset, make a SIP call to Algo H180, and Algo H180 is basically set up as a multicast server. So it sends a multicast, or it repeats your signal, converts into a multicast stream, and send it across the board. And what happens is basically you making one call, but effectively it is being streamed or broadcasted across the board. So everybody who's listening to that multicast address will be able to listen to your page or to your announcement. So it's pretty much straightforward. You can see you've reduced third-party SIP license requirements, extra seat requirements in this solution. It's just one call, and then let the master multicast system do its job. Pretty much straightforward.
Mohammed, could I just interject one comment there, please?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, sorry. One of the important things to remember, and you have touched on it, but I'd just like to emphasize it, is if you're using Polycomb Group Page, there is no charge. So there's no SIP license, there's no extension charge, because our product joins the Polycomb Group Page hunt group. So wherever using, let's say, for example, but this is specific to Polycomb. So if your customers don't sell Polycomb, then this would not be an advantage to them. But it does save the cost of the extension license and the SIP license. So it just becomes part of the Polycomb Group page. And there would be, I think there's some information on the website there. I will forward it through to you. But it means you can do overhead paging without a dedicated extension, just for Polycomb. With the SIP licenses, yes, you've explained that perfectly. And if you're not using Polycomb Group page, then you would need an extension license or anything with BroadSoft. The advantage where it also multicast is an advantage as well is with the 8301, because you would have a monthly charge with an ATA, a monthly connection charge. But if you put the 8301 on, then okay, you pay for a SIP extension, but there is no more charges after that. You pay for the ATA. So there's some, using the product, you can 99 times out of 100 satisfy the customer. Okay.
Thanks, Tony. So this is basically what Tony was referring to with basically with a couple of his discovered, so I'm just not going to go through it, but basically with Polycomb Group Paging, you make Algo H301, which is probably connected to an, like an amplifier or a paging system, and basically using the Polycomb Group Paging, you just convert, send the page, and it just broadcast across the board. So basically, again, you've reduced. You don't have to use an extra dedicated extension or a cloud system telephone extension. It just becomes a part of the group by obviously configuration, and it just works sort of out of the box, pretty much straight, with minimal configuration. So these are the two scenarios we've discussed. You can have it obviously one extension which could be connected to master system, and then use the master to broadcast, multicast, broadcast to other algos, or you can just, if you're using Polycomb phones and you have a Polycomb group page setup, then all you have to do is you don't even need an extension. All you do is make it part of the group extension, and then you can page or stream through it. So that's pretty much it for today. So today what we discussed is Algo product range. So these products are very stable and easy to configure product range. We've been studying them for over 3-4 years now, and there is hardly any return. I would call it even 0.0001. That's how stable these devices are. We never had any problems. These are one of the most stable products from our range. Using the product, these products can act or can work independently as a solution. So if you don't have an IP-PBX system, we can set it up. We can provide the whole solution so it acts as a standalone system as well. And again, what we discussed today is you can use the SIP multicast for paging and even for notification as well across the board. These systems have been interop tested with a wide variety of on-site and hosted PBX, some of them being Cisco, Avaya, BroadSoft, Asterisk, and so if your system, for example, is not if this is something you've not sold before, or you don't know whether it is it will work, please get in touch with myself or Tony, and then we'll help you do the interop testing with your hosted solution and make it part of the list. All the Algo products we sell, it is purely backed by Provi technical support, so we will fully support you with the installation. All these products are again live and available on Process, which is our online management system. If you don't have access to our online ordering system, again, please get in touch and we will be able to provide pricing, or you'll be able to log in. We'll be able to provide login for that as well. So that's pretty much it, really. We do have a question and answer session. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type it down in your chat box. Or again, I'm just going to put the contact us in front of the slide. So if you have any questions, you've got our contact details in front of you. Please write it down, or if you already have information, get in touch with any projects or any further information about the product range, and either myself or Tony will be able to respond to it. I'll give it a couple of minutes before I obviously wait if there's any questions. So far I've not seen any. The only one is, again, whether it's been tested with VTech phones, which I've answered. We've not tested on VTech phones yet, but we will be testing it hopefully within the next few weeks, and then make it a sort of official that it works. I don't see any problem whether it will work or not. Obviously, if it's multicast, it should work. It's just a matter of making sure we have done the intro testing with VTechs. So, is there any other questions? Okay. Right. I think that's about it, really, from myself and Tony. Thank you for joining. Hopefully it was useful. Again, if you do need any information, please get in touch. Hopefully we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you everyone for listening.